Welcome to the Open to Hope Show. I'm your host, Dr. Heidi Horsley, and I'm here in the New York City studio, and I am going to be talking today about a very important topic, coping with deaths of family, friends, and coworkers. And it is going to be so important and so relevant because we are coming up on the 20th anniversary of the September 11th attacks. And I have 4 guests today who have been personally impacted by 9/11, and we're going to talk about what's gone on in their lives over the last 20 years, how they've found hope again, and how they've come together to support each other. So in the studio with me is Carrie Pike. Hi, Carrie.
Hi, Heidi. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you here. And joining us virtually is Dave Turner from South Carolina, and Donna Angelini and Denise Lynch, who are together in Lindenhurst, New York. So welcome to the show, everybody.
Thank you, Heidi. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you very much.
I appreciate everybody being here because I know that this is a difficult time, and I know anniversaries bring up a lot of emotions and a lot of things. And for all of you, this was a very personal loss. So I think we're going to start with Carrie, since she's here in the studio. Just introducing her. I'm going to introduce all of you. Carrie Pike lives in Salt Lake City, Utah, when she's not here, and in the fall of 2001. She joined together with the Caring Connection to make a Carrie Bear for each of the fallen firefighter, police officer, and Port Authority families. And as you see, she's got one on her lap right now, which is wonderful. I love the bears. Carrie made one for me years ago after my brother died, so we have that in the studio also. In total, she made 422 bears, which I think is phenomenal. She personally delivered the bears to the families of Engine 54 in December of 2001. She is the author of Heroes of 9/11, A Brotherhood, and Connections That Never End After Loss. So welcome to the show, Carrie.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Joining us from South Carolina is firefighter Dave Turner. Dave is now retired, but on 9/11 he was a lieutenant at Engine 54. He joined the department in 1993. Dave lost 15 of his FDNY brothers in the 9/11 attacks. His firehouse, which is located in Midtown Manhattan, was the only one to have an entire shift killed. Those 15 firefighters were among the first to respond to the World Trade Center attacks. Thank you for joining us, Dave.
Thank you for having me. A quick correction, I wasn't a lieutenant at that time. I was a firefighter.
Okay, thanks. Thank you, Dave. Denise Lynch, who is here today, along with Donna. Denise is a firefighter widow whose husband, Michael Lynch, died in the September 11th attacks. Michael was a firefighter in Midtown Manhattan at Ladder Company 4 and a dad to his 2 young children. Welcome to the show, Denise.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. And sitting right next to Denise is Donna Angelini. Donna is also an FDNY widow who lost both her husband and father-in-law on 9/11. Joseph Angelini Sr. and his son Joseph Jr. were both firefighters. Joseph Sr. was 63 and had worked for the FDNY for 40 years. He was the most veteran firefighter in New York City. His son, Joseph Jr., worked in Midtown Manhattan at Ladder Company 4. Joseph Sr. and Joseph Jr. both had children. Joseph had 4 children, Sr., and Joseph Jr. had 3 children. Welcome to the show, Donna.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
I appreciate all of you coming on today, and I know that this is a hard, difficult topic. And I think what is going to resonate with so many people out there, we have so many viewers that are really struggling today on how to find hope and how to survive after losses. So I guess I'm going to start with you, Donna, and ask you to tell us a little bit about your husband and your father-in-law.
My husband was the most amazing man I could imagine. He was a gardener, a cook, a great dad, a great husband. There wasn't anything he couldn't do. I think the firehouse used to call him Mr. Gadget, if I'm correct, Dave.
he was. That was his name that was thrown at him a few times.
Yep.
I love it.
He liked to just build anything he could, try to fix everything he could. He worked for the New York City Transit Authority for 7 years before he became a firefighter. And that was he just wanted to be a firefighter. He wanted to follow in his father's footsteps.
And I bet his father was proud when he became a firefighter, I imagine.
Oh yeah, you couldn't. Pop was on cloud nine. He was another, all around great guy. Would do anything for anybody, and also a great baker and cook. So.
Okay, well, thank you.
you're welcome.
So, Denise, tell us a little bit about Michael.
He's from a huge Irish family. He was the baby of 8.
Wow.
He had 6 sisters.
Wow.
He's the first fireman in his family. His brother was a policeman. It was awesome. The love of my life. Great dad. We were actually all pregnant at the same time, right, Dave? Well, Dave wasn't pregnant, but Audrey. We all have kids the same age. And that was the awesome part about the firehouse. So it was like,
Oh yeah.
we were all together in it.
Wow. So all of you had children around the same age.
Oh yeah, there was a whole group of us. I remember one picnic. We were all under one of the mushrooms at Lido Beach, I think, and all the wives were in a circle, feeding the kids or doing whatever. They were babies.
I think
Yeah.
there's 7 babies born in 98, right? And we're 3 of them.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And I know I read somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong, that 28 children were lost fathers that day from the firehouse.
29.
No, it's 33.
33.
Wow.
33 from our firehouse.
Wow, that's pretty unbelievable. So so that takes us to Dave. Tell us a little bit about just the guys in general. I mean, I know
It was, they were all great guys. And out of all of them, it went from probationary guys up to guys with 20 years on the job. So you had everyone from probationary firefighter all the way up to veteran firefighters. And like you always hear, it's a brotherhood. It's a second family. You know, if you're not home with your own family, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else, with these guys. And it was just, you bound, you slept, you cooked together, you went to fires together, you basically had each other's lives in each other's hands. So, it was a great brotherhood. And Joe and Mike were creme de la creme. They were like Donna said, Joe was, when I think of Joe, I just think of all the stuff he could do. Like she said, he couldn't do it wasn't anything he couldn't do. I mean, he made amazing pizza pies in the firehouse. He made pizza pies from scratch. Or we would build model cars together or fire trucks. He would bring in all his model stuff. I mean, it was just great. Mike was unbelievable, very competitive.
On the softball field, the basketball field.
I love it.
Yeah, it was.
You get the keg and the guys lined up, right?
Well, like you said, Dave, and you all know this, the fire department has a special bond. The fire department has a special bond. And I mean, I worked with FDNY families for 10 years after 9/11, which is why I moved back to New York City to work with people that had lost someone in the Trade Center. And I didn't realize what an incredible culture I was going to walk into. The bond is unbelievable. So I learned a lot about what it's like to be a firefighter and what it's like to be in a firefighter family. And my heart
It's
goes.
amazing.
It really is. I remember sitting in homes and saying, they'd be doing renovations or something. I'd be like, who are the people are painting your house? Firefighters. It's like, he goes, we help each other. We help each other. So Carrie, talk to me about how you know Donna and Denise and Dave. What is your experience with them? How did you meet them? Where do you fit into all this, Carrie?
I know it's.
Don't tell anything bad, Karen.
I won't. It's amazing. So in 2001, when everything happened, the Caring Connection said, we need to do something for these families. And we all got together for a meeting, and I just said, they wanted me to make teddy bears for all the families.
And this is in Salt Lake City, Utah.
In Salt Lake City, Utah.
Okay.
And I said, there's no way we can make over 400 bears for all these families. And how would we get them to them? And, everyone in the country wanted to do something to help. It seemed like the country was so united, which is, I want that back.
Yeah.
But it was amazing because somehow we got in touch with Dave Turner and said, Dave, how do we do this? And he was able to get us all the patches
Wow.
and all the names of all the firefighters that had been killed, as well as the police officers and the Port Authority. And we made all the bears. We had hundreds of people helping sew, helping stuff, helping purchase, because every bear was donated by a family or a business. They all purchased a bear and
That's-
put a tag on it with, from
Well,
whatever family.
that's amazing, and I had no idea that Dave helped coordinate all this.
He was our point guy. And then we made all these bears, and I said, we need to see some of these people if there's any way possible.
Yeah.
And Dave said, they're from all over. They're not just always here.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, if you could come into the firefight, the Christmas party, the holiday party, then they might all be here. And it was 3 months later, and it was crazy to try and put bears together in 3 months and with all personalized and
That's
everything.
unbelievable. And you've got a bear in your hand.
Yes, yes.
So if you'll just show it, it's amazing.
So they all had a firefighter patch on them,
Yeah.
and then FDNY, and then the American flag, and then their name and their ladder or battalion
Yeah.
or their engine on the back. And I remember when
that was a labor of love, Carrie,
Certainly was.
right? To make all of those so quickly and you're right now tearing up, thinking about, I know that every single time you put somebody's
have
name
mine.
on the back of that bear, I love it. Wow.
Oh, Denise, thank you.
Now I gotta go get mine.
I know,
It's in my
right?
bedroom.
I know.
I can only imagine every single time she put somebody's name on the back of that bear, what that brought up for you.
It was unbelievable
Yeah.
because we just felt a bond already making something that would
Yeah.
go to the families. But then when Dave said it, you could come to the firehouse for the party.
Wow.
But it was so fresh that he was worried. I remember him when we walked in and we had these bears in our arms.
Now, this was 3 months after 9/11
Just
that
3
you went to the
months.
firehouse and met
Yeah,
with Donna and Denise and Dave.
and their
yeah.
families, yeah.
Wow.
And I remember
With me.
Yeah.
You met me.
Yeah, not
Okay.
me. I don't
No.
think I was. Oh no, I was there.
you were there. I remember.
I was there.
Wow.
But
I
our
have, I
kids
have a
were so
picture with you,
little.
Donna. But-
My kids were 3 and 9 months old.
I
Wow.
was 3, 5, and 7.
Wow.
Wow. And Dave's kids were there too. I remember seeing his kids and his beautiful wife.
Yeah, they were all three of them were young. They were right around the same age. Yeah.
Yep.
That's unbelievable.
And I remember Dave, you were very cautious because you didn't know, it was so fresh. You were
Yeah.
worried about the families and how they'd react. And you said, you can just stay over here in this little corner. It was kind of where we
Yeah.
put all the coats.
Yep.
And one by
Dave was protective.
Yes.
He protected all of us.
Which is
I love
good.
that because so many people, so many media were descending on 9/11
Oh, yeah.
families.
Yeah.
I love that
Yep.
Dave was the gatekeeper.
Yeah. He truly
One of
was.
them. One of them.
One of them.
It was so-
That's a
Yeah,
beautiful
it was
thing.
like- Carrie.
Somebody.
if it wasn't for Carrie being like, she wasn't pushy at all, but so on top of it, because I was so out of it at that point.
Yeah.
And, she just had a drive, like if I didn't get back to her quick enough, or she would always like point me in the right direction as far as like, and I said, yeah, that's probably the best part is coming down to the Christmas party in December.
Wow.
But like you said, I had to feel everybody out, and it ended up working out great, because a few of them
And
were
she knew
there.
our names, remember?
Yeah.
That was the nicest. She knew our first names, so we weren't called like the widow of or
Right.
anything like that. You were like, "Hi, Denise." I was like, "That's so nice."
Well, and I think one of the amazing things about this is she brought hope into your lives at a time that was hopeless.
Oh yeah.
There was something
Yep.
positive coming in with these bears.
And
It
the,
was
the
it was
fact
a piece of their dad too, because
Wow.
when they're that little, they need to touch something, and
Yeah.
they could touch the shirt. Like, is this the shirt my dad really wore? And it wasn't, but it still they could feel it,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So let's shift gears a little bit and talk about, here we are 20 years later at the 20th anniversary. And I'm just wondering, what is that like? And for people out there, what is it like to be at the 20th? Is it what kind of things are being brought up? Let's start with Dave.
Of course. It's to me, it's like, of course, it's the most. I probably give it a 30-day period. Usually, right before 9/11, and I give it the rest of the month. But it's definitely the toughest time for me. I'm probably not the poster child on how to cope with it, but I usually block a lot out the rest of the year, and basically just deal with it during this time. But you definitely can't do it alone. It was funny because my uncle was in World War II, and he was in the Battle of the Bulge.
Wow.
And I remember in December, he'd always go into a funk. But throughout the rest of the year, he was fine. He would go down to the Jersey Shore, the beach, everything was great. But in December, he went into a funk. Never understood it. And, it took a couple of years after 9/11 where I started realizing, I said, it actually started making sense all these years later, but, that's, it's one of those things that I try to just remember the good things, but it's always in your mind on a daily basis, but I kind of just block it out. There's always things that remind you of it, and, there's, triggers, there's a whole bunch of stuff, but this is definitely, the toughest time. And I just take it all in, and the best part is grieving with my brothers. Like, that's my trek, my journey. I go up, we, basically celebrate their life that we had with them, and, talk about the memories, and, the brotherhood just keeps me solid, I guess.
Yeah. So the support of your other FDNY brothers and the families.
Oh, without a doubt, yeah.
Yeah. And what about you, Denise and Donna? What are your thoughts about the 20th anniversary?
Well, Jack has teeth, and Jack's in college, and he's 6'4", and
That's and
he's
how
all
old?
grown
Remind
up.
me.
My oldest, my 3-year-old's grown up too. Like he graduated college. I can't even believe it. Doesn't feel like 20 years some days.
So these are children that were 9 months and 3 when your husband died, and
Yeah.
now, like you said, they're in their 20s.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah, Jack will be 21 in February.
Wow.
So in some ways, it doesn't feel like it's been 20 years.
No,
Definitely not.
and then you look at the kids, and they're thriving and grown up, and I credit a lot of it to the firehouse.
Absolutely.
I'm addicted with going. I love going. I love seeing Mike's other family. I love being around you guys. I love the stories that come out. My boys love it. My husband loved when we dated to walk through the city and be like, we went in that building, or we did this, or he brought the city alive for me. So I never wanted the kids to lose that. So we went to the firehouse a lot. Right,
That's-
Dave?
I
We
love.
would just show up.
I love hearing this. So the fire department has kept the memories of your husbands alive, and been
Oh,
a big
yeah.
part of your healing process.
For me, it was, yes, a huge part.
The firehouse has been great. They, they made sure that everyone, and Dave, you could say yes or no, everybody who came into that firehouse would sit at the, what's that room called? The night watch room, and had to know our names. And if we called, they better know who we were and act like they knew us forever.
I love this. And
So-
I mean, just walking past the firehouse, I don't live far from it, it's such a tribute to everybody that died that day, and it's right there, and you can't miss it, and a remembrance. So how has the 20th been for both of you?
It's starting to, like Dave said, it starts. Like tomorrow's September 1st. My one daughter, Jennifer, already posted something on Facebook to have some respect for the victims' children. And we don't want to see the gory pictures and the horrible posts, and just it just brings you right back to that day. And we suffered enough, and we suffer every year on this day.
Well,
And
Donna,
20 years, yes.
I think you're bringing up a good point. Like you're saying, we don't need the reminders of the way that they died. We don't need reminders that are constantly in the media, et cetera. What you want to focus is on the way that they lived, because the way that they died was just, a very a brief moment in time.
Right. We know how they died. We
Right.
live that every day in our own way.
Yeah.
But, where they're like, Jennifer got married. Her father wasn't there to walk her down the aisle. Jacqueline graduated nursing school. He wasn't
Wow.
there to pin her.
Right.
Joseph is waiting to get, he's not there for that. We know. And by posting all this stuff, it gets all drug up again. And
So,
it doesn't seem like it's 20 years.
what I'm hearing from both of you is there's various milestones that your kids have gone through over the last 20 years, and reminders that obviously that their father hasn't been there for many things.
Right.
So, and Carrie, what about you? What does the 20th anniversary bring up for you?
I just can't believe it's been 20 years. It does seem like, I don't know, a year ago that met you for the first time, but it was 2 years ago that I met you for the second time, and I haven't seen actually Dave since 2001, like live.
And
But
it almost feels like yesterday. I remember you
I know.
just standing there with the winter coat and like black garbage bags.
I know we had all these bears in our arms, and I don't think you knew what to say, and we didn't know what to say, but I was overwhelmed with how kind and how gracious and how grateful everyone was, and we were just bringing some little bears, and yet it was helping to fill some arms that needed to be filled, and the fact that you still have your bears now means the world to me. It
I gotta
just
get my bear, don't I?
no, it just means to me that
They're a little dusty because
Yeah,
they don't
right?
play with them as much.
it just means that it meant something to you, and it made a little bit of a difference, and that just completely fills my heart.
It made a lot of difference to us.
So,
What was nice about it, you actually wanted, I remember you wanted to actually hand deliver each one to each person.
Yeah.
And
beautiful.
that says a lot. It wasn't like, it was like you wanted to see where it came from.
right.
They want, for everyone to know where it came from, and that really gave it life.
So what has helped each of you along the way? Just briefly.
I reached out to a lot. Well, for the longest time, it was the firehouse that I was always in touch with them, phone calls or people stopping by. But after everything, it's friends, keeping my friends close. And I've got a best friend with Denise, and our friendship.
I think we talk 3 times a day or 4 times a day.
That's
Still.
amazing. That's fabulous.
So
And at least called the firehouse once a week, right, Dave?
Yeah. Checking in.
Yeah.
Not just checking in. Like, remember I had Jack in my arms and Michael slammed the door and locked us out, and I had to break a window to get in, and you guys came and fixed the door, the window.
So
it was crazy.
it
I'm
sounds like
what
so
do I do?
the fire
We
the,
got-
the firefighters are still there for you. They're
Oh,
still there
yeah.
if you need help, if you need them, if you need support, whatever you need, they're there for you.
Oh yeah, we were in the city one time, and Dave will remember this too. And we were in a hotel. We were there the night before the Christmas party at Toys R Us. And her son, we had the front doors locked with those bolts that go over.
We
So
had adjoining room.
We had adjoining rooms, and we were in my room, and the kids were in Denise's room playing. And Jack shut the door between the rooms, and we couldn't get to the kids.
Oh no.
So we're talking under the door and sticking fingers. I'm like, I can climb out on the ledge, no problem, and I'll get in the room.
I'm on the phone calling the firehouse. We're stuck.
They came in, and the hotel was flipping out
Don't break
because,
down the door.
like, we can get it open. We're like, yeah, we got kids in there. We're getting it. It was great.
It was crazy.
Firemen were there for us all the time. I know if I called the firehouse right now, I'd have guys here within an hour and a half.
That's amazing. That
Wow.
says a lot.
But they're still there for the kids. Like
Yeah.
New Year's Eve, if the kids go to Manhattan,
Oh, yeah.
they'll stop in and they're greeted with open arms. Like,
Yep.
how are you? How's mom? How's this?
Want something to eat? You want to eat? You need
and,
anything?
and I'm guessing it's
Always
healing.
food.
I'm guessing it's healing for the firefighters too. It works both
know.
ways, right?
Sometimes we bring out the worst.
What about you, Dave? What has helped you? What has helped you over the years?
I have, things that are personal. Like I got a tattoo on my leg.
Yes.
Stuff like that. I have some I have pictures in my room here, in my TV room. You know, early on, you know, of course, I had to, you know, talk to people. You know, there was no shame in going to therapy or talking to a counselor. I've done that numerous times. We actually had a great bond with U.S. Navy fighter pilots who adopted our firehouse, you know, very shortly after 9/11. And they actually put our company patch on their jets and wrote the names of the guys we lost in our firehouse on their jets.
Wow.
And they actually still have a jet to this day that they never took it off. They kept all the patch and the names on the jet.
Didn't we go see them with you? Didn't we go upstate and see those jets? The kids were
We
on
did.
them.
It was, did you come up to Newburgh when they came up to
Yeah.
Newburgh? Yeah, they took 2 of the jets over. Yeah.
That's
But
amazing.
I talked to the pilots a lot. They were, you know, how some people, you know, I'm their rock. A lot of these pilots were our rock. You know, they looked at us as heroes, and we were like, "You're kidding! You're the ones flying the missions over there," and we're like, "You're the heroes." But you know, it was just something. You know, for me, that was somewhere where I could, you know, lean my head if I had to. But I keep a lot of stuff in. I don't bring it out at home. It's probably not healthy, but you know, that's just the way I was wired.
Well, I want to thank all of you today for being so candid and open about your journey. You know, grief doesn't have a beginning and ending. It just changes over time. And we all know you don't get over somebody that you love. You learn to live with them.
No.
And I always say closure is for bank accounts, not love accounts.
I like that.
So thank you for being hope for so many out there that right now
Thank
are
you.
very much struggling. I appreciate it. And Carrie, thank you for what you've done with the Bears and
you.
and just bringing all this positive energy. And I love that you're all together as friends now.
I know.
Yeah.
It's
I love you
I
all.
love her texts and her phone calls.
Oh yeah.
it's pretty phenomenal.
It's amazing. It's
So
incredible.
thank you for joining me today. And
you.
thank you for joining the Open to Hope show. And for those of you that would like to see more shows, you just go to opentohope.com. And we always say, please lean on our hope till you find your own. And God bless.
I've learned that it helped me to help others, to know I'm not the only one, put one foot in front of the other, find a life.
Adding hope to the darkness, you start on the trip to recovery.
Reach deep down inside and say, I am going to live on.
We laugh, we cry, and remember.
Hope without action doesn't work. Hope with action can change the world.
We always say, if you've lost hope, please lean on ours.